Welcome to Element 26 of Ascended World's Wonderland program. We're nearing the end of this course on trust and allowance, and I think you can feel the intensity of each of these clearings build as we get closer to the end. Today is a trust and allow unconsciously as well as consciously. And I know you've already done your workbook, so we're not even going to get into that. But I think that the important thing to note on this particular element, the key to all of this element is realizing how important the unconscious is, because we really it's almost like autopilot on overdrive. It's something that we just have installed all through our lifetimes. And unless we stop and acknowledge it, it remains unconscious. And it remains kind of running in the background. And we don't really think about how it affects our conscious behavior. So let's take a look at our prompts. I trust unconsciously and consciously. I allow unconsciously and consciously. I trust and allowance are automatic for me. And that's one of the keys in this whole element, is allowing that to become automatic and trusting to the point where all of that is automatic, because your unconscious already is. So when we add that element into the unconscious, we're working for ourselves versus against ourselves. Because if we don't acknowledge the unconscious role in our creations, most of the time it can be, when you aren't getting what you think you want, it's working against you. So when we trust and allow from the unconscious and unconsciously, it really becomes, again, our friend. And it's like, gosh, what's the best analogy I can use? It's like adding jet fuel to just your regular gasoline. It really launches you forward and allows your creations and your intentions and everything to just be that crystal clear, focused, and the allowance just multiplies, and which we know results in manifesting and creating all the things that we desire, consciously and unconsciously. Trusting and allowing are second nature to me. And that's exactly what I was talking about, how it just is a part of you, and it's just who you are. It's that authenticity. It's that embodiment of the trust and allowance that we've talked about on several of the elements here. One last piece. I trust and allow even when others don't. And I think that that's really, really, this whole course has brought us to that place to where trust and allowance is all about me and my authenticity, and it doesn't involve others. And once we get to that place consciously and unconsciously, we've really mastered trust and allowance. And I think that that's what this element brings us back around to, is mastering the trust and allowance by having it be second nature, consciously and unconsciously. I recently saw, for probably the 50th time, an episode of Star Trek. And actually, I think it was Deep Space Nine, where someone had been imprisoned because they'd been sentenced to something, but rather than go to the expense of actually imprisoning them for 20 years, they just implanted those memory in their unconscious mind. So even though it was only a couple of days, they had the belief and the memories of 20 years worth of imprisonment and suffering and struggling. And it was interesting to see how the whole episode unfolded. But to me, it really pointed out the power of the unconscious mind and about when we just allow it to remain unconscious and on its own autopilot, untended, then we get such conflict in our creations. And I think a lot of us experience that when but I want this, but I'm getting this. So when we trust and allow both consciously and unconsciously, we take all of that into consideration and realize that the conscious and unconscious are equally important. So now that we've got all those facts out, let's take a look at our clearing statement. I trust and allow consciously as well as unconsciously in every thought, word, and deed, and in every moment. And that's where it becomes second nature. So let's take that deep breath, get comfortable, sit back, and step out of separation, back into wholeness, and breathe into our hearts and allow the vibration of that creation statement to be our truth. Saturate every cell and between every cell. Okay, one more deep breath. That seemed really fast to me. One of the things that I heard while I was out there was that when you allow and trust consciously and unconsciously, you get an alignment between the unconscious and conscious, and your creations are that much quicker and more fulfilling and accurate. And another thing I also heard was the unconscious, if and this leads into our next course in messages and our guidance and hidden messages, is that it speaks loudest in what's reflected back to you. So that's the best place to look if you're getting some incongruency between what you want and what you're getting. So just a little teaser for the next course. I always trust and allow unconsciously as well as consciously. That's our post-video affirmation. So I hope you will take that and use that in your meditation or lucid dreaming. That would be a very interesting one. And journaling as well, whatever your routine is. So I guess I will see you again on our final element in this particular course. And thanks so much for joining today. And we will see you on the next element. Bye-bye.